Hi, everyone. You're listening to the Purpose for Life podcast. This is Suzanne Roberts, your host, and I am so excited. I have here with me today Qiana Stewart, a psychotherapist, and she's going to tell you a little bit about how she works and who she is. But I'm going to tell you the three topics we're going to discuss today. We're going to demystify the stigma of therapy, especially for people of color. The stigma of therapy, how the structure of therapy is set up that isn't helpful for people. And then also cultural ways to diversify, looking at how there can be different therapeutic models for people. And I'm so excited. Thank you for being here today, Qiana.
Thank you so much for having me, Suzanne. I am excited to be able to share my expertise on your platform.
I'd like for you to share how you operate as a psychotherapist.
Sure. So, as you stated, I am a clinical therapist. I have 25 years worth of experience in the social service mental health field. I know I don't look it, but I do. Uh, I have been in agencies, smaller agencies, bigger agencies, conglomerates, and in 2015, I started doing private practice part time, in addition to working for one of the bigger agencies that I was working for. And with COVID, I transitioned from the group practice to private practice, solo practice, and opened my own private practice, Fostering Hope, a transformational wellness and consulting group that is here in Columbus. So I work with, over the years, my youngest client has been 11, my oldest client has been 72, and I have worked with everything in between. So for me, I look at therapy as something that is collaborative. I tell all of my clients the same spiel when we get started, that I am not here to be the expert over your life. You
Mm,
are, but I am here
mm,
to give you a multiple perspective, right? Because sometimes when we are in tunnel vision, we can't see left or right. All we see is where we're going. So I'm here to help pull back those blinders and give you a different way of looking at things. With that being said, I cannot and I will not work harder than you. So we will go as fast or as slow as you need to go. But there are some times that I will have what I call my Judge Mathis moments, because I love judge shows. And Judge Mathis is one of my favorite judge shows. And in his opening monologue, he used to say, I'm about hard decisions and tough love. So
mm.
sometimes there will be times in our therapeutic relationship where I say, hey, Suzanne, this is our Judge Mathis moment. And I kind of give it to you straight with no chaser, because sometimes that's what we need to hear. We don't need everything to be, flowered and prettied with a bow. Sometimes you just need it there in your face where you can get it. So that's kind of what my approach to therapy is. It is very, like I said, very collaborative. If I have an opinion, I let clients know. If it's a
Mm.
professional opinion, if it's a personal opinion, if it's rooted in science, because this is a partnership to me. This is 50 to 60 minutes for clients to be able to download, to help process through emotions, help problem solve, help identify loopholes. Again, a big TV person. So I tell my clients I would like to be the Christina to your Yang from Grey's Anatomy. I want to be your person, whatever that looks like for you. I don't want this to feel like the dentist appointment that you schedule on your day off, right? I want it to be something that you actually look forward to participating in.
I love that. I love the partnership approach, really letting your client guide,
Mm-hmm.
not determine.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference between guiding and
Yes.
determining,
Yes.
so that you can follow their lead, and also challenge when you need to challenge, uplift when you need to uplift,
Mm-hmm.
give perspectives, all those
Mm-hmm.
different things. And I'm curious why you picked the name Fostering Hope. What does that mean to you?
It's twofold, is that I'm wanting to set up something, a legacy for my daughter. Her last name is Foster. And so that's where I got the fostering from, but also what I do is to foster hope for individuals, right? My desire is to help individuals to be the best version of themselves, whatever that looks like. And so that's kind of a play on words, how we came up with fostering hope.
I love that. And you have the most amazing daughter,
Thank
Sydney.
you. Yes,
She's
yes.
just
She is my
outstanding.
light.
She is a light. And you can find her on social media too if you want.
You can find her. She wants to be, she said, the youngest person making videos. I think that's how she says it. So
Well, she's great at it too. So
thank
shout
you.
out to Sydney here. What would you say some of the challenges are for people wanting to come to therapy, and why might they, fight coming to therapy?
One initial challenge is being able to find a therapist, having an understanding of what therapy is. I think that there's a very antiquated concept of what therapy is, and that concept is in having an individual that just sits there and looks at them and says, "Oh, that's interesting.
Hmm.
Hmm, tell me how you feel." And so there's access. And then I think the other thing is just the affordability of it. I don't think that, when we talk about normalizing therapy, I think it's hard to normalize something that is so hard to pay for. Whether you have high deductibles and you're unable to meet those deductibles to have individual sessions, or again that access piece. Again, therapy is, to me, it is your place for you to download the things that you need to download. I tell my clients, I'm here to manage the symptoms. The diagnosis is for insurance purposes. I don't care about your diagnosis. Clients rarely ask, but they will ask, "So what is my diagnosis?" And my response is always, "Why?
Hmm.
Why do you want to know?" Because your diagnosis doesn't define you, right? That is
Right.
something that, is a part of your makeup, but that is not definitive of who you are. My concern is not the diagnosis. That's for insurance purposes. My focus is on treating and managing the symptoms. And that's what I want you to do, is to learn how to manage your symptoms.
Would you say a little bit more what managing symptoms means to you? Because I could make up in my mind what I think it is,
Yes.
and I'm not sure
Yes.
what you mean. So I'd love to hear what that means to you.
So, for example, right, using some of the most common diagnoses, anxiety disorder or depressive disorder, I share with my clients the layman terms for those diagnoses. To me, anxiety is worrying about and trying to control the future. Depression is worrying about and trying to change the past. Okay. So now we have an understanding. And with that, some of the symptoms that come with those diagnoses, is difficulty concentrating, having your mind jump from one thing to the next, sadness, feelings of guilt and or shame, anticipatory or persistent anxiety. We have hyposomnia and insomnia, right? So difficulty falling and staying asleep, or the oversleeping. Um, One of the symptoms with depression, especially, that is under emphasized would be the lack of interest in sex. And so when you go through a period of time, and I noticed it within my own relationship during COVID.
Mm.
So with those things, and some more would be that the munchies, right? That increased appetite or decreased, significantly increased or decreased appetite. So now that we have an idea of what some of those symptoms are, how do we manage those things? How do we manage the increased frustration and the low frustration tolerance, increased irritability, excuse me, and low frustration tolerance? Before we can manage those things, we have to be able to first identify that those are things, right? We normalize that that's just how I'm feeling, or that's just, those things are normal, but really they are not. So when they are more often than not, that's when it's problematic. So, how do we manage the increased irritability? Recognizing that maybe it's you, it's not everybody else, and being able to take a step back to say, if everybody around me, I'm annoyed by everybody around me, as my mom would say, it can't always be everybody else. Some of it is you.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to say, maybe this is a me thing. How do I learn to take a breath? How do I learn to remove myself from situations so that, I'm not a Debbie Downer? How do I recognize what my sadness is and know that it's okay to be sad? It's okay to have an elevation of mood. But if we're always here or we're always here, that's problematic, right? Moods should be like waves. We should be here. And sometimes we're here, sometimes we're here, and sometimes we're elevated. But if we're always up and we're always down, that is problematic. So how do we manage
Mm.
those things? How do we learn to identify them?
Yeah.
And then once we identify them, put into action some things to kind of level them out.
First of all, thank you for taking the time to say all those things, because I think listening to it, any of us can find ourselves in one of the things that you said.
Mm-hmm.
And with the word fostering hope, finding skills or pathways to do something different feels like, listening to you, it would improve the quality of my life. And that I
Yes.
don't have to stay stuck in the ruts that I'm
Mm-hmm.
normalizing for myself and
Mm-hmm.
thinking, so thank you so much for, delineating that. That was really clear and helpful. And I'm hoping
Thank you.
listeners can see that there's a pathway of hope for them through this relationship that you're talking about. So thank you.
And
Thank
let me
you.
add, let me
Yes.
add,
Go.
Suzanne, that with that, the time frame is 2 weeks. It's a short time frame, right?
What's two
So
weeks?
you could find a diagnosis if you have had these emotions for a period of 2 weeks
I see.
consistently. So if we're consistently here for 2 weeks, those are signs of being falling within that diagnosis period. So that's what the DSM says. So it's easy, and when you think about culturally,
Hmm.
we don't want to be identified as having depression, right? And what that looks like, right? You see depression as just sad all the time or crying, not being able to get out of bed, but that's not really what it looks like. For some people, it does, but it's not across the board, right? And sometimes individuals are functioning in their depression. So, functioning in your depression could look like being, I've spent all of my energy doing my have tos. So, going to work, I took a shower, I did all of those things. And when I come home, I have no energy to do anything. I'm in my pajamas, I'm on the couch, and I don't want to talk to people. I don't want to be bothered. I just want to sit there. And so that could be what functioning depression looks like. So the loss of interest in the things that you used to do, that withdrawal from other people and things, those again are symptoms. So I know I kind of jumped a little bit, but I thought about it that it's kind of widespread. So just wanting to make sure that the viewers and listeners have a good snapshot of what that could look like.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. Once again, people that are using up their energy during the day and they're used to going home at nighttime and putting their pajamas on and turning on the TV and not being around people and maybe eating or not eating or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
that's normal to them, but their lives could be so much better. And that's what I'm
Exactly.
hearing in what
Yes.
you're saying. And once again, fostering hope for
Yes.
the best
Fostering
you
hope.
to have quality life more than what you're used to, right?
Yes.
And so I
And
love
more
that.
often than not, right? Because we're
Right.
all going to get in those places where you're
Yep.
like, I just want to go home. I just want to disconnect. But if that is what every day looks like,
Right.
that's when we're talking about things being kind of problematic or potentially problematic.
Thank you so, so
You're
much.
welcome.
What would you say in terms of different ways of culturally having therapeutic resources? Like, for example, ways that you set up a therapeutic process for yourself in a very difficult time. Would you talk about that kind of therapeutic process?
Just to share a little bit, in 2023, my partner and I were traveling for his birthday. And while we were traveling, he had a massive stroke, and it resulted in him losing his life. I had to come back home, still being a therapist, still being a mom to a 4-year-old, and continue to give of myself while dealing with my own life altering event, significant grief. 6 months before that, I lost my grandmother.
Mm.
3 months after that, I lost my uncle. So 2023, right, was trash for me.
Yeah.
And so I made it a choice that my daughter deserved the same quality of life that she would have if dad was here. So I need to utilize the skills that I have and work through my emotions. I did not attend traditional therapy in that I had a therapist that I signed up with and I met with on a regular basis, but I do have friends that are therapists. And so I tapped into that support group to say, hey, you guys know me. You guys know me better than a lot of people. And I'm doing the things, I'm trying to do the things. But if you see that what I'm doing is not enough, and I need to actually meet with a therapist regularly, then I need you to tap me on my shoulder and let me know. So making sure that I connected with them, lunch dates, phone calls, text messages, right? I always say, even if I have no words, I can communicate in emojis. That's what I would do. And really utilizing my friend group too, that were not therapists, and forcing myself to be honest that I'm not okay when I'm not okay. My mom would ask me every day, how are you feeling? Are you okay? And I told her one day, I said, listen, I have this looming cloud of sadness over me. So you don't have to ask me. It's there, but I'm doing the best that I can, right? To show up as the best version of myself, for myself and for Sydney. Doing the things, trying to do some exercise, trying to engage with individuals, but feeling even when I'm engaging with individuals that I really could be at home by myself. I really don't, right? Feeling lonely in a crowded room is the best way to describe it. And in trying to do all of those things, I realized that it wasn't enough. And in it not being enough, I told my friends, because again, I'm trying to destigmatize medication and mental health, that I need additional help. And that I was reaching out to my doctor because I'm doing all the things. But I think at the time that, some medication could be helpful, because what I was doing was not enough. And so that was the approach, and that has been the approach that I took. I probably stayed on the medication for about a year and started feeling as though I didn't need it as much, and began to, with the help of my medical professional, to titrate down, not just stop cold turkey, because that's one of the things too, is that with mental health, which we all have, right? We all experience mental health highs and lows, but that it doesn't, services don't have to be forever. Medication doesn't have to be forever. But it's being able to identify and acknowledge when you need more, and when you could go with a little bit less.
Really appreciate you sharing that. I'm sorry for the cumulative loss
Yeah.
and the impact of that. And I'm also really struck by your own self-advocacy and your self-awareness to know how to set up your therapeutic model.
Mm-hmm.
Because you had people around you that were going to give you is it Judge Mathis? So
Yes.
you set up Judge
Yeah,
Mathis around you,
that's right.
right? You knew yourself well enough that you knew you were going to work with your feelings. You weren't going to ignore
Mm-hmm.
them. You knew that it was going to be hard. And I think that this historically, this is a lot of the ways that communities and cultures did do therapy like
Yes.
this, with
Yes.
that collective accountability and the witnessing and the acknowledgement. And I also really appreciate that when you got to the point where you were, treading water and getting tired, that in
Mm-hmm.
order for you to actually really do the work, continue the work, we do need medication
Right.
sometimes.
Right.
Because if you can't really do the work and you're just using your energy to tread water, then you're
Yes.
not you're not actually doing the work, right? And so,
It's the same, right, when you have a headache. It's the
right,
same when you have a stomach ache, right? We don't always just immediately, or shouldn't immediately, reach for, medication. You try to drink more
right.
water. You try to make sure that you've eaten, all of the things. But when it's not enough, then you're like, hey, I need some Advil, or I need some
Right.
Pepto-Bismol. I need something to assist.
Thank you. And thank you for taking the stigma out of medication and
Thank you.
also knowing that it can be situational. Some people do need to be on medication their whole lives and some people don't. But there are different ways of, you know, ha- using medication at different times. But I just appreciate your authenticity and your honesty. When you're working with clients, do you also help them set up a community accountability or help them build support structure similar to, maybe not like yours because yours was very specific, but is that part sometimes of the therapeutic model?
So I am your formal support, but I
Okay.
am not accessible 24 hours, 7 days a week. Who are your informal supports that you can call on? And it's not always the individuals that you would like for it to be, right? Sometimes the individuals that you think should be able to be your informal supports, because of their own stuff, they don't have the capacity, or they don't know how. So it's being
Mhm.
able to help my clients, right, set up their informal supports, who can be their trusted individuals, who has the capacity to support them in the way that they need to be supported, because everyone doesn't always understand your needs. So that's a whole nother process of, people showing up the way you need them to show up, or the way that you would like them to show up, and dealing with the disappointment behind that. How do we navigate that?
Absolutely. So there's a lot of learning that can happen in building up that informal. So much
Yes.
work can be done around how do I know my own needs? How do I
Yes.
identify not my preference, but who has
Yes.
capacity? So I'm not just going
Yes.
through using my discernment, right? And then,
Right.
I mean, those are a lot of really great skills for the rest of one's life, right?
I
Like,
think one of the things that we were taught that has done us the most disservice is, right, we teach people, or we treat people the way that you want to be treated, right? And sometimes, though, we have to learn to treat people the way they need to be treated, the way they desire to be treated. Because if we're doing it from what our needs are, when we extend the way that we know how, or the way that we would want someone to extend to us, and it's not received, then we feel like that, oh, well, they don't care or they don't appreciate. But that's not the way that they needed you to show up for them. You showed up the way that you would want someone to show up for you. So one of the things that I do with my friends, my family, is to ask, how can I support you?
Hmm.
How can I best support you, instead of making the assumption?
Not determining it for them. Being,
Exactly.
being in a collaborative relationship.
And again, empowering
Yes.
the individual to identify what their needs are and to express it.
I just want to pause for a second. If you all are listening here, don't you want to come see Qiana?
I am 100% virtual too. So as long as
Oh
you're
my
in the state of
gosh.
Ohio, we can meet.
I mean, I am inspired listening to you and, feel like if I wanted help in that way, I do have a therapist right now that I'm working
Yes.
with, but I'd hire you. Are you kidding?
Listen. And so, right, that goes to another thing, another barrier when we talk about culturally
Yes.
being in therapy, of what our ethical limits are. So the board of counselors, social workers says that if you are in relationship with someone, then you can't also be in a therapeutic relationship, because that's considered a dual relationship. However, my doctor, I can know my doctor personally, right? I can know
Yes.
my dentist personally. I can know my eye doctor personally. And I think it's the antiquated version, or the antiquated ideal of what therapy should look like.
Because think about it, you used your friends who are therapists as your accountability, and you saw them socially, and they were also accountability partners to you.
Exactly.
And I, as a
Exactly.
coach, I can see my clients,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
whereas my therapist walked by me on an airplane and wouldn't look at me.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
strange. It's just bizarre. Right.
And as a people, right, as a community of people, we do a lot of things in culture, right?
Yes.
There is comfort in in our cultural community. I want to go off of a recommendation. This is, somebody that, I go to church with, or even if I don't know them, or, someone that is, my sister's friend, who I feel like will take care of me in the way that I need to be cared for. But it's looked at as though that's a violation of what our ethical rules are.
Makes no sense.
None.
Zero.
None. And I don't think, though, if we really look at, how psychotherapy came to be, it was very white. It was very Anglo-Saxon,
Right.
right? And so it was a stigma, because if you were in therapy or you had a mental health disorder, they were performing phlebotomies and all types of things. And so as mental health and therapy transcended, we didn't move with it.
Right.
And so now
It
here
didn't
we are.
adapt. Sorry.
It did not adapt,
Adapt
right?
culturally. It doesn't make sense. You did what I would say is culturally appropriate.
Exactly.
So thank you.
Exactly.
We're going to have to start to wind down. I want to
Okay.
ask you a question. What do you think the purpose for life is?
I think the purpose for life is to live it fully. And that is very individualized, right? But I think that we are all given this life. I think that it was given to us so we could live it beyond what our
Mm.
belief, what we could even fathom. And if we are not living up to our own potential, if we are not the best versions of ourselves, we won't gain the full purpose and magnitude of what life could be for ourselves.
I love that. And I believe that's what fostering hope is laid out to be, is to
Thank
have
you.
everyone gain access to the full potential of this life that they've been given beyond their wildest
Yes.
dreams. And thank you for being a
Thank you so
resource.
much. Thank you so much, Suzanne. Thank you for letting me share with you. I hope that your audience, receives some nuggets and some things that they feel like that they can um, implement in their lives, or that gives them more motivation to seek therapy. Again, it's doesn't have to be as stale and antiquated as it looks like on TV. We are regular people going through regular things that are just here to be um, a catalyst to
Mhm.
help individuals to grow and to thrive. And that's really what my vision is for my clients. I am here to help you meet whatever your needs are.
I love that so, so much. What's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
The best way to get a hold of me is to go to my website, www.f as in foster, H as in health, wellness, and consulting.com. If you would like to have a consultation, I do 15 free 15-minute consultations. Just fill out the contact us information and I will get you scheduled.
So much for being here. I've so enjoyed being in conversation with you. I know the listeners are going to gain so much from today from so
Thank
many
you.
different perspectives. Thank you, Qiana.
Thank you so much, Suzanne. I appreciate the opportunity.
And that's it for today for The Purpose for Life. We're signing off.